Amen. To God be the glory. Amen. In God good. Amen. Amen. Not only is God good, but his son Jesus is good. Amen. Not only is Jesus good, but Reverend Jesse Jackson is good. Amen. Amen. To God be the glory. Thank you, my dear brother Jonathan Jackson. I truly appreciate you. To Reverend Jesse Jackson, I wholeheartedly and unequivocally thank you and all of who you are. Amen. And happy anniversary to the anniversary of your work in Kosovo. Amen. But it's also the anniversary of the work that Reverend Jackson, that God had Reverend Jackson doing in the city of Decatur, right here at home. Amen. Amen. That yes, they tried to give us 2-year expulsion. The courts tried to give us 2 felony mob action charges. Amen. At the time, I didn't know what that meant, but my mama did. Amen. I think the police department did, and I know that the school board did. Amen. They were trying to throw us away. They had the perfect recipe for the school to prison pipeline. Amen. So we called Reverend Jackson in the Rainbow Push Coalition, and Reverend Jackson went down to Decatur and turned the city of Decatur upside down and inside out. Amen. Yes, he reminded and showed the city of Decatur what the grace of God looks like. Amen. Amen. And because of the work that he did in the city of Decatur, I was able to get my GED. Because of the work that he did in the city of Decatur, I was able to go to Royal University and get my bachelor's degree. Because of the work that he did in the city of Decatur, I was able to go to college and get my master's degree. Amen. Yes. Not only was he working in Kosovo to save some souls, but he saved me in Decatur. Amen. And then because folk in Decatur, they like to convict at about 90%. Court system. Low graduation rate. High criminal activity rate. I said, well, maybe I should run for a thing, something. I have to do something. So I decided I'm just crazy enough to believe that I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Amen. And I thank God that my mother believed in me. Teenage mother, had her first child at 13, again at 15. Another child at 18. Had me at 22. I was a teenage father. Baby at 15. Another baby at 18. There was a trend happening, Brother Jonathan. And so I never knew my father, but I thank God that he sent me Reverend Jackson. Because when my father didn't answer the phone, Reverend Jackson did. Wherever he was in the country. And if he didn't answer on the first ring, he would call me back about 2 a.m. And I would answer. And I'd say, hello. He'd say, yes, this is Reverend Jackson. And I would get so happy because this big old character will call little old me back. Reverend Jackson has never forgot about the least of these. Amen. And so, individuals telling me to leave town because of the fight. The Ku Klux Klan was there trying to find the little kids. I remember when they went on the radio station and said, if I see one of them, I'm going to kill them where they stand. Police would come by the house and pick me up, drive me around the corner and tell me to get out the car. Didn't know what this meant. But I guess I was in training for what was to come. You know, they say proper preparation prevents poor performance. So I decided to run for the school board. I remember the man who was the president at the time. He said, no, you won't make it. You know, weren't you a drug dealer? Don't you hang out with a Reverend Jackson? You know, it's funny, Brother Jonathan, that some of those stay woke folk who don't vote They always try to tell you, don't hang around Reverend. But I sit in front of Reverend, stand in front of him, stand beside him, stand behind him. That man saved my life. Amen. So I decided to run for the school board. And I remember going to a meeting just to check things out and set the scene. Talk with the president at the time, old racist white man. He said, no, you won't, you're not going to get in. Don't you remember they called you the big bad wolf of Decatur? I said, well, didn't you see the recent newspaper by that same Herald Review? They said I was the most influential black man in Central Illinois. And so then I ran off faith. And I remember just like it was 2 seconds ago, it was April 4th. We were celebrating a victory. I didn't know if I won yet, but you know, when you got God on your side, if God is for you, who can be against you? In fact, folks should not be against you when God is on your side. So I remember when the numbers dropped, they counted the votes, and I won by a landslide. I said, oh my. And so when they swore me in, I said, I need a Bible. I want to be sworn in with the Bible. And so I was up there with my right hand to the sky, but I was looking at the president of the school board because he was speaking against me so ugly. But then he had to watch him swear me in. And then when I took my seat, I sat right next to him. I said, now let me introduce you to Jesus Christ. Because my God is most certainly good. Amen. And then a year later, I guess I was a pretty decent school board member, because then they voted me to be the vice president. That took him out of his seat. That's that old the first will be last and the last will be first. Amen. But I just came to thank Reverend Jackson, because he didn't give up on little old boys from Decatur. You know, I thank Reverend Jackson because he led this horse to water and he showed me how to drink. I thank Reverend Jackson because, listen, if a neighborhood drug dealer can teach a young man how to convert a kilo into 35 ounces and an ounce into 28 grams, then a preacher, a teacher, a leader can take that same young man and teach him algorithms and coding and real estate and how to be a leader. Amen. So I thank Reverend Jackson and the Rainbow Push Coalition for allowing God to use you abroad and at home and never giving up on young people. Today I do a lot of work on the Juvenile Justice Board, that initiative where we're shutting down detention centers. Amen. So that young people can get access to essential skills and construction jobs and help. We want to send them to prison, send them to school. Amen. Send them to school. There's a philosophy. I mean, are we preparing our young people for school, or are we preparing school for our young people? There's some changes that must happen, and we have to challenge those changes. So I thank you all, in particular Reverend Jackson, for always fighting the objective conditions that hurt, harm, and hinder the human experience. I love you so much. Stay blessed and productive, and keep hope alive. Amen.